Hey, welcome to the channel. So yes, another video on Portugal. As you know, we have discovered Portugal a couple of years ago. We bought a property there in Nazare, which is in the Silver Coast. And surprisingly, there's places close by within a 30-minute drive that we had never heard of before, ever, and until we went there and discovered these incredible places. So we realized that there's a lot of people, maybe you, that are going to be considering a vacation there to the Silver Coast of Portugal, or consider a scouting trip, maybe relocating to Portugal. You don't want to miss finding out what these places are around the town of Nazare. Nazare by itself is an excellent place. That's where we fell in love with. But there's these other towns nearby within 30 minutes that you should definitely spend some time at when you are there traveling to Portugal, and in particular, the Silver Coast. Are you ready to join us? I'll take you there right now. We are Dennis and Min. Come join us on our traveling adventures around the world. All right, we're going to get right into the first amazing town within 30 minutes of Nazare. But before we do, please like and subscribe to this channel. And if you do, I will play my ukulele for you. All right, so the first town is called Obidos. Obidos is located about an hour north of Lisbon and about 30 minutes south of Nazare. It is a small town with a medieval fortress perched on this hill. It is surrounded by cherry orchards all around, and for that reason, they are known for their ginja. Ginja is a Portuguese cherry liqueur. They do love their cherries in Portugal, and so there's many orchards throughout the country, and Obidos is just one of those towns that grows and is famous for their ginja, which is where they place this cherry liqueur in these little tiny chocolate cups. And so you drink the ginja and then you eat the chocolate, of course, afterwards, which has the wonderful flavors of the cherry liqueur. And this has a beautiful series of cobblestone streets on the interior, beautiful, quaint little shops, and they also sell their ginja there. And they are also known in Obidos for having it be a UNESCO designated literary village. Now, in my opinion, because of the culture, the history there, it could actually be designated an UNESCO site for that reason. But no, it was actually designated an UNESCO literary village because it is known for having all these bookstores. The largest Portuguese bookshop is in this ancient cathedral there within the walls of the Obidos fortress. Yes, so they have many libraries in Obidos and many books. And so it's something that you're not going to see in many places. Hard to find a bookstore anywhere these days, but that is really what they're big on over there. And also, in addition, they have wonderful festivals throughout the year in Obidos. They've got a medieval market festival of opera in July. They have a Christmas village in December into January, which is kind of a Harry Potter theme. They have wizards moving around, and it's great for kids. They even have an ice rink. Yes, they have an ice rink inside these castle walls. And they also have a annual chocolate festival in the spring. So if you are a chocoholic, you've got to be there for that. It does vary in the month from year to year. It could be, I think, some months, years, it could be March, some could be April, but definitely that's a big festival. People from all around come for that. And then what's also cool is that many of the people that live nearby and in that area recognize the need for more live music. So they got together and they renovated this old bar that was run down, and they made it their own, and it's called the Prohibition Bar. So they have live music on a regular basis there, and when they don't have live music, they have karaoke. They've got great food there, and of course, great craft beer and other wonderful cocktails, but they do have some wonderful live music, and you might just find yours truly performing there on occasion at the Prohibition Bar in Obidos. So when you get a chance to visit the Silver Coast, definitely check out Obidos. Now, of these 5 towns that are within a 30-minute drive of Nazare, I would say probably Obidos is one of the most visited, is the most touristy. So just know if you go in the high season, it may be a little crowded there, but a definite must-see on your itinerary when you are traveling through the Silver Coast. And the number 2 most amazing town within 30 minutes of Nazare, in our opinion, is Sitio. Now, Sitio is located actually adjacent to Nazare. It sits on a bluff overlooking the town of Nazare, and Sitio is a small town, but they've got such history there. There's actually a Black Madonna. Now, there's several Black Madonnas that are well known throughout the world. This one apparently was made by Saint Joseph himself when Mary was pregnant. And it's also said that this wooden statue that was carved by the hands of Saint Joseph was later painted by Saint Luke the Evangelist. And what's unique about this Black Madonna statue is it shows baby Jesus breastfeeding. And what's unique about that is you see many, many images, paintings, and statues of the Blessed Mother with baby Jesus, holding baby Jesus. But I've never seen any depiction of baby Jesus actually breastfeeding. And so that just adds to the uniqueness of this apparent relic from that area, and somehow it made its way there to Sitio. I'm going to save that story for another separate video. But there's also another famous miracle that goes all the way back into the 12th century, and it's actually called the miracle of Our Lady of Nazare. And so they actually created and developed this sanctuary, this big cathedral there in Sitio, named after Our Lady in honor of this miracle that took place in the 12th century. Again, I'll get into that story in a separate video because it is pretty fascinating. But the cathedral in Sitio was built in around 1377. And also back, I think it was in the 1500s, Vasco da Gama, the famous Portuguese explorer, before he made his famous trip to India, came to Sitio and prayed for a safe journey. And so there's actually a plaque commemorating that place where he sat down or knelt down and prayed for that journey. There's also places where you can get your shopping done. It's a fairly touristy area in the high season. They have a lot of clothes that you can purchase, and they also sell the famous ginja that Portugal is known for. And they also have a funicular that was built in 1889 that connects the town below of Nazare to Sitio. So there's this little cable car that goes up and down, back and forth, to easily transport people back and forth between those two towns. But literally, it's right next door to Nazare. It's probably a 2 or 3 minute drive, a 5 or 10 minute walk between Sitio and Nazare. So definitely worth checking out. And if you're into watching the big surf of Nazare, it's actually that bluff in that town of Sitio where you would most easily see that big surf down at the tip of that peninsula that jets out into the sea, where you have the Surf Museum, which is an old fort that has those big waves rolling in onto the north side of that bluff. And the number 3 most amazing town within 30 minutes drive of Nazare is Alcobaça. There is a very spectacular monastery there. It's in Portuguese called Mosteiro de Santa Maria de Alcobaça, also translated into the monastery of Saint Mary of Alcobaça. So Alcobaça is the name of the town, and it literally dominates that small town. And it was built, I believe, in the 12th century. Was founded, the monastery, in 1153 by the first king of Portugal. And he did that as a way of honoring a vow that he had at the Battle of Santrum in 1147 that he won. And it was one of the most largest and most powerful monasteries in the country, housing almost 1,000 monks who would say Mass throughout the day, throughout the night. And much of the original facade of the church was altered in the 17th and 18th centuries. They did have a pretty major earthquake in the mid-1700s, where a lot of places in that section of Portugal needed to be rehabbed. But it is a magnificent, magnificent site. And you have two 14th century tombs there inside the cathedral, which are probably the church's greatest possessions. They commemorate the tragic love story of Dom Pedro and Dona Inés de Castro. So it's a beautiful love story, I guess comparable to Romeo and Juliet. And also, they have inside the monastery this grand kitchen, which actually has a water channel that was built through the middle of it to divert wild fish right into the kitchen. And you have wonderful, wonderful statues adorning the interior. But it's just an amazing work of art architecturally, and it's been kept up in really good condition over the centuries. And so definitely when you get a chance, you've got to check out the monastery of Alcobaça. And the number 4 most amazing town within 30 minutes drive of Nazare is Batalha. And Batalha has some fascinating history, like so many other areas of Portugal. But probably its biggest landmark they're known for there is the Monastery of Saint Mary of Victory, or Mosteiro de Santa Maria de Vitoria. And the history is that the king was in a large battle that was fought there against the Spanish, and it's known as the Battle of Aljubarrota. And that took place in about the year 1385. And Portugal won that battle, and they were fiercely outnumbered. There was about 6,500 Portuguese. Spain had an army of about 30,000, so tremendously outnumbering the Portuguese. And the king of Portugal at that time, King João, called on the Virgin Mary to assist them in battle and vowed to build a superb monastery in return for victory. And a couple years later, he made good on his promise, and work began on this cathedral that was completed in the year 1434 in Gothic style. And for those of you that are the type that go to Paris and one of the first things you want to see is Notre Dame, then you definitely want to stop in this town, because I tell you, this cathedral is very reminiscent of that type of architecture, but also just in its grandeur, and it's just incredible how far back they built this thing without all the technology that they have these days. But it is a vaulted Gothic interior. Its roof, I believe, is one of the highest pitched roofs in all of Portugal. And you've got the a joint tomb of King João I and his English wife, Philippa of Lancaster. They were married in 1387. To also kind of build that alliance that still exists between Portugal and England. And some English actually fought on the Portuguese side of that battle. The tombs of their 4 youngest sons also line the south wall of the chapel, including the tomb of Henry the Navigator is there. So there's just a lot of areas to explore around this wonderful Gothic cathedral. And you also have what is called the unfinished chapels, or capellas imperfeitas. Sorry for my pronunciation. It's not quite there like a regular Portuguese would pronounce it, but it's also known as the unfinished chapels, which are adjacent, just outside of the monastery. It is an octagonal-shaped mausoleum with 7 chapels that was commissioned back in 1437, but never quite finished. I think word has it that over time the king and his wife relocated to Lisbon or thereabouts, and with the king went his money. So they just, I think, ran out of money to finish that area adjacent to the monastery. So it's a very cool place to explore. And again, it's a very wonderful town to just walk around. It's small enough to do that. Just a must-see visit for anybody that is going to be venturing in that part of the Silver Coast. And the number 5 town that is so amazing within 30 minutes of Nazare is Foz do Arelho. That is about 20 minutes south of Nazare, and it is a very expansive lagoon that has a beach area that connects to the Atlantic Ocean. So basically, there's these 2 bluffs on either side, and there's a beach that connects the bluffs north to south, and on one side you have the Atlantic, the other side you have this amazing lagoon. And even though I've only seen pictures, but they actually have pink flamingos that visit there on occasion, I've been told. And it is a wonderful lagoon because it's mostly calm enough where people can do stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking. There's also surfing on the beach side. And it's a wonderful little beach town with a beautiful boardwalk filled with cafes and restaurants. And even though it doesn't have a grand cathedral or any, 1,000-year-old cathedral there, it is a wonderful town. And it's also a place where a lot of expats call home, and where they just really love the lifestyle over there. And it is, again, very close proximity to Nazare, and also within about an hour's drive of Lisbon as well. And I know I said there was these 5 amazing towns within 30 minutes of Nazare, but I am going to throw in a bonus town called Pederneira. So that's technically going to be our number 6. Now, Pederneira, likewise, where to the north of Nazare you have the town of Sitio on a bluff. Likewise, just above the town of Nazare, just a little bit to the south, is this small town of Pederneira. And it actually has 2 very old churches there. And then it also is known for its incredible lookout. It has a really beautiful view of Nazare Beach and town below, just like Sitio does, but from a different southerly angle. It also overlooks the marina. And it's just a very laid-back, typical Portuguese town. And it has winding cobblestone streets. Some are pretty narrow, so be careful if you're driving in Pederneira. But beautiful views from up there, and it's just a short walk from the town of Nazare for people that are interested there. And that is going to complete our amazing towns within a 30-minute drive of Nazare. So I hope you enjoyed learning about these 5 amazing places within a half-hour's drive of Nazare. If you've been to any of those places or other places within a half hour of Nazare, please drop a comment. I want to hear how your experience was as well. And note that there are another 5 amazing towns within an hour's drive of Nazare that I'm going to be publishing very soon. So again, another reason to like and subscribe and hit that bell so I can notify you when that video is up and running. So those will be towns between 30 minutes and 1 hour from Nazare. And lastly, some people will say, Dennis, I want to go to these places. Where's a good place to stay? I will say this, you could stay at each place for a day and have plenty to see and do. But I would also say that if you wanted just one central located place, I would say Nazare, because you have Sitio on one side of Nazare, Pederneira on the other, and then you've got Alcobaça is about 15 minutes nearby, maybe 10 minutes drive, and then you have Batalha a little bit to the north, and then you've got Foz de Arelho and Obidos to the south. So I think it's a good central location. Let me know what you think if you've been there before, if you would recommend any other place to stay. And I will look forward to seeing you all next time. Thanks for watching.